How we doing, everyone out there? And as you guys come in, let us know where you're coming from. We had a lot of people register, so please let us know where you're coming from. We want to see it. Chicago, all right. A couple Floridas. New York. Washington State. All right, we're coast to coast already. Look at that. Raleigh. Greg, thanks for coming. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll give it another minute, allow some people to join, but really glad to see we're all over the place today. That's outstanding. PA, there we go. Jerry and I, we're both PA guys here. Anyone from Kansas City? Any Chiefs fans out there? Okay. All right. Well, yeah, Jerry, you ready to go? We're going to get started?
Definitely. Yep.
Cool. Well, yeah, again, I really appreciate everyone hopping on today. We have a really cool topic we want to go over and discuss. I think it's a story anyone, anywhere can enjoy, take some knowledge from it. And so, again, as people are coming in, let us know where you're coming from. I think this is something that kind of really appeals to the masses. So it'll be pretty cool as people are filing in. We want to see, but we've already seen, just in the first minute here, we have great representation. And so it's nice to see a good variety. We, as the registrations climbed up, I wasn't shocked. We have, an industry here in junk removal that's grown rapidly. It's a huge industry. It's an industry that's not peaking anytime soon. So real staying power. And I noticed a lot of those emails, were coming in from junk removal companies. So thought that was pretty cool. I think too, JDog at this point, it's a brand that's recognized coast to coast. So, seeing literally we have Washington State, we got Florida, we got Philly, New York, Connecticut, all over the place. And in all those cities, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a JDog there. Might be a couple.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
33 states.
Excellent. So I think that's that's a story that everyone can kind of recognize. Obviously you can recognize a brand, but really this journey is kind of what we wanted to come together today and really get to understand. We know there's plenty of junk removal pros out there, but I hope we also have some other business pros out there. If you're just a business owner and you want to hear kind of how someone started a brand and made that brand successful and really scaled it up, I hope you're out there too. So kind of same thing. If you're not in junk removal, use the chat. Definitely let us know what kind of industry you're in, what work you do. We want to hear from you guys. I think this will be something that everyone can kind of relate to. And also too, if you guys have a really cool question, we have somebody moderating the chat. So throw it in there. We'll go ahead and we'll answer some really cool questions while we're doing this as well. We'll also kind of throw some polls out there. So nobody fall asleep. We're going to be being real engaged here. Okay. But yeah, basically today is all about, like I said, a business starting out, how it scales, and how do you become a behemoth like JDog. So I'm going to pop open just a couple slides here real quick. And give me some thumbs up in the chat if you guys can see everything there. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, we're exploring a specific journey today here, and that is one of JDog junk removal and hauling. Okay. I'm going to search its humble beginnings. So you can see my AI generated clip art here. Everybody loves the AI generators now. So we're going to take a look kind of at where things began and kind of understand how this idea came to fruition. And then we really want to see like how Jerry climbed that mountain, basically the decision to franchise. What were the goals? How did you scale up and kind of come over those challenges as well? And then I thought it would be really cool to basically also explore the current phase of the business. And that's, basically once you kind of achieve maybe those initial goals that you wanted, and now you have a brand that is in all 50 states and it's coast to coast and, everything's very successful. Where do you go from there? So in this instance, it's learning about, maybe starting a different franchise in a different vertical and then applying the successes that you learned and along the way to make another brand successful. So I thought we had kind of a really cool 3-part thing we can explore today here. And that will be narrated by none other than the man who's with me today. That's Jerry JDog Flanagan. So Jerry is a proud Army veteran. And of course, he's the CEO and co-founder of JDog Junk Removal and Hauling, and now also JDog Carpet Cleaning and Floor Care. Okay. I myself, my name is Ben Fish. If I've never met any of you, which most of you I'm sure I haven't, I work for Workies. I'm the franchise channel manager. So I have some experience through my career with franchises. And, I was actually out just recently visiting Jerry and thought it would be really cool to kind of explore this story with him. So that was kind of why we were kind of doing this today. For me personally, I've only been with Workies a few months. It did not take long to realize very quickly that JDog was one of our best partnerships. It truly is something that is a partnership. It's not, just a client. Work together often. Look at those two handsome men, those two proud Pennsylvania boys, representing both sides of that partnership. And so, as you can see, I was lucky enough to be in JDog HQ. It's in Berwyn, PA, which is kind of the eastern portion of the state. And I recognized quickly that JDog was one of our best partners. So I wanted to go out there, just the relationships we have with the staff, with HQ. It's been awesome. And truthfully, this partnership has changed the trajectory of our company. Things have gone so well with JDog. It's really shown us, our platform's such a great fit for the junk removal industry. And we want to be such a part of what you guys are doing. So we've really gone all in and we're proud of what we've built together. But it was really cool going out there. I even said to some of the people in the office, just driving, it felt like home. And I'm in the office, and if you guys could see, Jerry's got like all sorts of stuff on the walls, tons of accolades, awards. They have like a stock car that's framed up. It's awesome. And then I spied this like piece of paper in a frame, and I look at this thing, and it's an invoice for a trailer, and it's from well over a decade ago. And then a few feet from it is this other scrap of paper, and it's like this general framework. Like it might as well have been a cocktail napkin. I know that's cliche, but these scribblings of just an idea, a plan. And, I thought any business really, that's where it starts. It starts with an idea. And it was so cool that you were able to capture that moment in time. And I thought this would be such a great opportunity to just really hear from the horse's mouth, explore what the real beginnings of JDog are and kind of how you did what you've done, Jerry. So without further ado, please take it away. Tell us a little bit about how JDog began.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I appreciate the words that are kind. JDog really was born out of desperation. My wife and I had owned a business back 2008. The recession crashed it, and it took us personally and financially put us into ruins. And I was pretty irritated because I thought myself as a pretty good entrepreneur at the time. I don't have a college degree. I have a military background, but the military never applied anything to me in my civilian career. So in 2010, I knew I needed to get a job, a real job, which was very difficult at the time, without a degree. And I wanted to do something that would not deal with the recession again. So I started Google searching recession-proof businesses, and basically 4 things came up. Pharmaceutical, doctor, waste management, and junk removal. And I said, you know what? I have this piece of crap Jeep, and I could go get a trailer, put some boards up, and I'll haul junk around my neighborhood. I'll learn as I go, because I had no idea how to haul junk. I knew nothing about it. All I knew was recession-proof business, and I saw some of these big companies out there doing it and doing a lot of sales. So I figured that would be my side gig. Let me go to Home Depot, park at Home Depot, hand out my card to people, index card at the pizza place, this and that, and see if the phones will ring. And this is in March of 2011. So the phones rang. So I started doing a couple jobs, didn't really understand what to do with the items. You take it to the transfer station, then the transfer station charges you, and then they get paid to dump your metal. You don't realize that if you went to the metal place, you'd get paid for it. I learned that later in life. But in the beginning, I was just trying to figure everything out while I was trying to get a real job. And about 2 weeks into this new business that was going on, I'm always about 10 minutes early to the customer's home. I got the haircut that's never left me since the military. And I say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Very polite. Thank you. I clean up behind me. And the one couple recognized, they said, you must have served in the military. Where'd you serve? So, well, I served in the Army. It was a long time ago. And they said, you should tell everyone that. So I said, why would I do that? What does my military experience have anything to do with junk removal? And they said it doesn't. But I'll tell you right now, if I knew you were a military veteran, I'd open my door for you every day. I'd use you over the other guys. So I went home and I said to my wife, Tracy, hey, Trace, we got a situation here. We got to pull out all my old Army ideas and boast us as a veteran-owned and operated business, which I had never done before. So it wasn't hard. So we took the Bulldog down at Fort Stewart, Georgia. It's not a Marine Bulldog. It's an Army Bulldog. And tweaked it up. And before you knew it, we created JDog. And we started out with just a simple model, hire me. So I'm available 7 days a week. Army supervised. I'll work hard like I did in the military. And believe it or not, the phones blew up. So I realized that I wasn't going to need to look for another job now, because I was working, 7 days a week. I got slammed. So if I'm going to be the veteran-owned and operated brand, I needed veterans. So what did I do? I went to the Coatesville Hospital, the VA, and went to a job fair and partnered up with the VA. And they had a lot of veterans coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and they needed work. And it was like a match made in heaven. And that's how it really started.
So it wasn't initially, you didn't envision it being an exclusively veteran-owned business, but it sounds like pretty early on you kind of stumbled on that and leaned right in. You had the intuition to.
The name came up early on, and that's what you saw in my office on that scratch paper, because my nickname in the Army was JDog, the wire dog. So it was Jerry, JDog.
Yeah.
And he rhymed with junk removal. And honest to God, that's the only reason I used JDog in the title. It turned out to be my Army Bulldog name or nickname or whatever. And it really was a surprise.
Nice. All right. What, in those, kind of early ons, maybe even your first 6 months, first year, what was like the first real major challenge you really ran into?
It was really education. I mean, I didn't really understand that if you take metal to a metal place, they'll give you money for that. I learned that the hard way. I did this one job where it was 2 trailers full of books and composer paper, and it was all paper. And the guy felt bad for me at the transfer station. He's like, look, I'm going to charge you. This is heavy, but if you go to that recycling center, they'll give you money, pennies on the dollar for the paper. I'm like, well, thanks a lot. You could have told me that 2 years ago. So I developed these relationships with where the items needed to go. I did a job with a piano, and I called up a piano company locally, and they said basically they'll take certain pianos and they'll refurbish them and they'll pay for them. So eventually I built that relationship. So it took a couple of years to really develop all those relationships of where you drop things off. that'll be cost effective instead of just taking everything to the transfer station. So I
Yeah.
think early on, it was all about, I would say yes to the job before I knew what I was doing. I have a hot tub on my deck. Will you do it? Sure. How much will it be? I'll come out and tell you right now, but I can do the job. I had no idea there's electric tied in there and there's motors, and I needed more people to help me do it. So it was a learning curve in the beginning. I think that was the hardest part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm sure too, that's a bit of your inner veteran coming out, like you're ready to just charge in, go at it.
It
But
was fun. It was a fun challenge, you know?
I'm sure. I'm sure. I wanted to put a poll out there. So especially if we have some new business owners, what was an early challenge? So what were some other things that maybe wasn't as big as the education, but maybe some things you also saw as kind of, affecting that learning curve?
Well, I had a landscape trailer, so there was no dump function with boards on the walls to make it 4 feet high.
Yeah.
Now, obviously they're all powered, loaded trailers. There's dump trucks. I did everything myself, with my back, and I hired part-timers to help me, part-time veterans. If I couldn't get a veteran to work with me, I had family help me. I had a couple part-time help employees. I think that in the beginning, having the proper equipment so you don't break your spine and break your knee and all that, which I'm at 55 years old. When I started this, my early 40s,
Yeah.
I tore up my spine, and I paid for it with surgery and things. But what I would say is, learning experience, I didn't have the financing to go out and buy a dump trailer. The landscape trailer, you saw the receipt, was $1,700, plus tax and an expensive lock, So I think in the beginning, if I had the knowledge and I could have launched off better, I would have. If I had understood what a website was and what a toll-free number was and all those type of things that you need in your business to launch now that we do, I think I would have gotten from A to Z much faster.
Okay. All right. Well, and with anything, there's a learning curve. So those early days, I'm assuming you were on the truck
Every day. Yes.
So I wanted to ask, you're hauling. I wanted to ask you about two jobs that really stick out to you. So I'll start with maybe like kind of the more lighthearted one here first. What's like the nastiest thing you can ever recall hauling, or the hardest?
I'll go with the hardest because I try not to remember the nasty ones. The one that really killed me was there was a tenant in a gas station, and the landlord, and they were fighting, and there was a squatter. And when they finally got him to leave, the real estate person came and said, "I got to get this gas station cleaned up immediately. It's a nightmare." And there was a 700-pound engine pushed down the side of the hill. The guy trashed the whole place on his way out, threw tires all over the back hills, and it wound up in people's neighborhood and the creek and people's backyards. So I had like 40 tires I had to pull out
on a hill.
On a hill, yeah. And then I had an engine that I had put on my thighs and basically kind of muscled and rolled it up like Macho Man, and really was bleeding in my legs. But I was just so motivated to get this engine on the back of my trailer. So that stuck out as far as really high. It was 120 degrees out with the gravel.
Yeah.
So then the next job I'd say it was a nice job. It was a very wealthy man out in Villanova, if you know that area. He had this beautiful library. Looked like there were all brand new books in this library, probably 1,000 books. And there was a church out here that was raising money for single abused moms. And they had a big fundraiser, and part of it was a book drive. So I showed up, and they raised, I think, $6,000-7,000 off of all those books I dropped off.
Oh, wow.
So again, when you start, and I'm sure a lot of the people out there that have a junk business that are watching, you develop these relationships, and you can really make a difference and a change when someone's, junk, trying to get rid of, and you can turn into some piece of gold for somebody else. It really goes a long way. It feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, and I would imagine, a lot of times people get into business, and obviously it's it's a financial decision. They want to make money. They want to be their own boss. But I'm sure when you have those moments where you realize you can really help people, it just enhances kind of the motivation, I'm sure, so much. And you take a little bit more from it.
Yeah.
So in that kind of early part of the journey, when did you know it was working? Like, did you have a moment where you realized, I have something here? I can get this to take off.
Well, I think what happened was, it was just, we were busy, we were busy and we could pay our bills. And for a first year business, that was great. We actually decided to franchise 1 year after we started the business. And that was actually my wife's idea, Tracy. She realized that this business was not about junk. It was about helping our military veterans have an opportunity to work and have an opportunity to follow what we were doing and be that, that owner operator. Originally, I didn't want to franchise. It's very expensive. You need a lot of money. And I just didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. I thought it'd be really tough. But at the same time, franchising is very controlled. So if someone's going to have, our brand, JDog with respect, integrity, and trust, and you're going to be at the other side of the country, a franchise is a very controlled atmosphere and it's a very, strict rules of what you can and when you cannot do. And it's very protected for the franchisee, where when they would open up, that area would be theirs. They'd build their own customer base up and they would be the JDog of that area. So it took about a year before we actually went into to start franchising this model. So I think franchising was the tool to put veterans into a business so we could hire more veterans. We like to say we want to get the unemployment rate for veterans to under 1%. And what's the best way to do it? Put up 1,000, 2,000 franchises across the country and let them do the hiring.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't realize you started franchising that early. That's fantastic. So
2012.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. For all the other business owners out there, I saw in the poll, other was another option. So let us know, let us know what your challenges were. And then, maybe we can work that in on there were some similarities. But okay. So I guess that's a good transition point too, talking about the franchise aspect. So, things are going well and, we know how it started. Now, at some point, you guys decided to franchise. You wanted to scale up. So let's learn about that. How many locations did you kind of start out with? Did you figure out a model pretty quickly to find the right vets for those markets? Kind of tell us how everything kind of scaled up and how those first few years went then once you started franchising.
Sure. So we didn't sell our first franchise till 2013. We had tried to advertise in a couple of the military magazines and those things like that. And we were able to sell 5 franchises between 2012 and 2014. So that got us to 5 locations. And I was still hauling junk because we still needed that income. And the franchises back then were a lot less money because we really didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't have a big support system for the franchisees. But I felt as it was, if you're a veteran, you know how to pick up a couch, take the couch out of the house, say thank you, and move on with your job. I didn't realize the gravity of what's involved with a real junk removal business until later. So in the beginning, we had sold 5, and I was still doing the hauling every day, and it was 80-hour weeks, and I was getting burned out. I had young daughters, and we decided to go out and get an investor to pull some money together, still leave us with control of the company, but we were able to go out and raise over $1 million, and we needed that money to actually to set up the systems that are necessary, the software, the proper education, all the things that you need to set up a real franchise system. And that was in 2014.
Okay. There's some good responses in the chat too. And I was curious. So they're asking about advertising and then leads with Google. Pretty early on, were you advertising heavily? Were you investing in a lot of different ad sources or lead sources or anything like that?
Fortunately for us, we did have a friend in the family that was in the, Google search, that type of work, who helped us with our website. We paid, but we didn't pay a ton of money. We did some Facebook advertising and some Google. Our real idea was we wanted to be boots on the ground. We wanted to park our wrap truck on the streets so people could drive by, which is a free billboard. And we were all about getting the lawn signs and the door hangers out there everywhere and just saturating the market nonstop. And then once we got a customer, we would mail them a thank you card. We just stayed really heavy in our community. And everywhere Tracy and I went, we would wear our gear and drive our truck, and our kids were even wearing JDog shirts. So everybody knew us. And that's really how the business really took off. So we did some lead generation, but the main part of our business was really, we were the veteran business in our market, and they would rather use us than some of the big, I'm not going to mention them all, but some of the big franchise competitors and some of the people that they don't really know, but they knew us. They saw our truck driving around and they just wanted to support the military.
Yeah. Supporting a veteran, supporting your community. I can certainly understand that. So, when you guys really start scaling up, what was something kind of unforeseen that you went through where if you could look back and you say, man, if I knew that I could have done it this way, maybe something you just didn't realize you would run into as you kind of were really franchising heavily and scaling?
Well, it was unique because I try to act like I was a franchise when I was a franchise, but I really wasn't a franchise, if that makes sense. I hired a consultant from a franchise company. We advertised in all the franchise lead generators. But here we were only selling to military veterans and the immediate families, which is a small percentage of the clients out there. So we were having a hard time having our civilian franchise consultants relate to our veterans who didn't want to talk to these guys. They didn't want to be sold into a franchise. So we went through 6 months of this where we realized I need military in my office. So I wiped out and fired all those people and brought in military personnel to come in our office and really start managing things. And they related to the people that wanted to buy franchises. They trusted the language. They trusted that you served over there, I served over here. We're brothers and sisters. We could talk. And that was the big turning point of this. Otherwise, I think we would have ran right through all the money and not have made it because we went 5-6 months without really moving much.
Yeah, that was something I was curious about too. Did you see, so I guess that kind of answers it, but maybe just some more detail on, did you see kind of peaks and valleys or did you kind of stagnate at any point, plateau, and then figure out a way to kind of, spike it back up and get some more growth?
Once we figured out the military personnel in the office and the angle, we were on Fox and Friends in 2015. Once we aired on Fox and Friends on Saturday, all hell broke loose. It was great. We didn't realize that that the need for veterans becoming business owners, not by themselves, but with a partner like us, we really started to take off. And it's been a steady climb ever since. We're nearing nearly 300 territories right now between junk and carpet cleaning.
Okay, interesting. So after that, that spurt, the appearance on Fox, was there something that, if it was going as a little more rapidly than it had at that point in the business's life cycle, was there something that kind of you recognize as you needed, like, oh, you know what, we have to do things a little bit, not necessarily differently, but you had to pivot maybe just because now the size or the volume was just getting to a point where it was different and you had to kind of change how you did business?
Yeah, this business, you need to be in your community running this and operating it. We did make some mistakes by having some people buy franchises, but not living in those areas. They wanted to put managers in these different areas. It just didn't work out. So we made that mistake. I would not have done that if I had known that. We were excited to get these franchises sold because we figured the faster we sell franchises, the faster we put veterans to work and get them out of isolation. And it's just a positive thing. So I would have controlled that differently. We're much more controlled now where you need to be living in your market, in your territory to own and operate a franchise. And you need to prove that if you want to expand somewhere else, you got to bring that partner in and they really got to go through the process.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. So for you personally, when you got to that point where now, okay, we're the rocket ship's taken off, how did your responsibilities kind of change? Like, how did your day-to-day compare to, those early days, now as things were getting much larger?
Well, I'm really hands-off when it comes to the operations of the business. We've got people in place that manage that and they're experts and this is all they live and breathe it. My wife's like the chief of staff, personnel and workforce, and she has her own podcast. I'm more of a branding manager. I'm heavy in LinkedIn. I'm always thinking of the next idea of where JDog's going. We launched carpet cleaning and floor care, which is starting to take off now. So I've been heavily involved in marketing and branding that. We have some foundations, Irreverent Warriors. I'm part of the Grunt Style Foundation. I also work at Grunt Style as an advisor. Stop Soldier Suicide, Worth It Hollow. Some of these other Foundation related initiatives are really important to me. The mental health of our veterans and reducing and preventing more than reducing the suicide. We're heavily focused in that, and we're trying to find ways of how to do that. And I can tell you right now, if you can do both, if you can flood the country with franchises that are owned and operated by veterans and they hire veterans, you're going to start getting these people out of isolation. And then if you can get involved with some of these organizations that need money and support, I think you're doing two good things.
Okay. And is there anything that you guys do company wide to really get involved in those kind of support community driven initiatives?
Yeah, if we find an organization that aligns with our values, then we partner with them with our local franchises. So what's great is if you have a silky hike in Tampa, Florida, for example, we have 2 franchises there. Then they're going to show up, and then they're going to be part of that silky hike. Those type of things. We're trying to just kind of merge with some of these groups and use our franchisees as those local partners.
Okay. It seems like you guys have great processes in place too. When I was up there, you were training new individuals, but you even had the discovery day, which I thought was such a cool concept, bringing individuals in and really seeing firsthand and experiencing what JDog's all about. I thought that was just such a genius way to get prospective franchisees to really understand who you guys are, what you do, and how you do it. Can you kind of tell everybody about how kind of your discoveries days work and what the goal of that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pre-qualification before you come out to a discovery day. There's multiple phone calls that you have to go through just to make sure that the relationship and the criteria is there between your finances, your credit score, can you get a DD 214 from an immediate family member, or are you a veteran? You got to make sure those things are done before we go into bringing people out for discovery day. Once they do come out to a discovery day, they go through a whole meeting process between myself, my wife, and all the different team members that are involved with the operation for 2 days.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone knows. So like the co-founder aspect, that was you and your wife, right?
Yeah,
you guys started it, and I know military spouses. That's that's such a supportive element of the military in general. But yeah, tell us about how you guys working together kind of really fueled all stages of the business.
it's so funny because people go, how do you work together with your wife? Like, how do you do that every day? And our offices are literally side by side, yet she's so caught up in what she's doing and I'm so caught up in what I'm doing. We have to get together after work to talk about work. It's really wild. And, for her being as dedicated as she is to this business as I am, we don't shut our phones off. We work all 7 days. It's work day all around the kids. Everything we've done has all been around work. And I think we've set a really good example. Our daughters now are adults. And even my one daughter works in the company of JDog after she got her degree. So we've built this family around work, and you can't take off. If you're going to be this a franchisor or a really strong entrepreneur, you can't really just take off. You just can't shut it off and say, I'm not bothering with it. I'm not saying you can't take some vacation time and things like that, but when you do, you better check your phone, because you never know when you're going to get a lead or something that's really important that's happening to your business. So if you're going to be that, entrepreneur or that franchisor, you got to give up a lot. I can just tell you right now. And the fact that my wife has jumped in this pool with me, when I first told her about it, she was like, oh, you're going to be like Stanford and Son. We're going to be like that. And that was a whole joke back in the day. I said, no, I'll explain it to you. The junk removal business is recession proof. I'm strong enough. I can go haul junk in here. I won't make you do it. Well, I lied, because later I did make her haul junk, and I did make the kids, who were 12 and 13, haul junk. It's kind of funny. Well, I grabbed everybody I knew to help me do this thing. So, but having your wife side by side, I mean, she is so dedicated. She's the workforce leader. She's Mrs. JDog. Her license plate says Mrs. JDog. She has a podcast, which is called Tactical Treasures. It's all over the place. And she's had generals and she's had incredible veterans on her podcast. She's booked out to the summer. That's how popular she is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We got to get on that. We got to get on that schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we had actually a pretty cool question in the chat I wanted to ask you too. Someone had asked, I know this is something that is big in franchising. Do you recommend any franchise consultants that you work with, or was there anyone that kind of really helped you learn a little bit more of the ins and outs of franchising?
I would advise against the franchise consultant. I would go right to getting a franchise attorney. Um, I went with a franchise attorney right away because of all the trademarks that are involved and those type of things to build the franchise system. But as a franchisee, you're going to need a franchise attorney to really look at your franchise agreement. I'm not sure what a consultant will do for you. I guess you could go online and do a lot of research yourself, but I think the franchise attorney is probably a little bit more important. Can't hear you. Hey, Ben, I can't hear you.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Yep.
The double mute. Yeah, I think this is a great transition. You know, if the story had ended here, you guys would still be a huge success. You hit it out of the park. But you didn't. You know, you recognized you wanted to take it another step, and in 2019, you guys added JDog carpet cleaning and floor care. So, you know, I was just curious if you could tell us a little bit about how you decided to jump into a new vertical, to jump into something that maybe you didn't have as much overlay, or maybe it did overlay a lot. Like what made you decide to get into something completely different, and then how did you kind of apply the lessons from junk removal to that journey?
Well, being the JDog brand model, basically that gets you into the customer's home, basically saying, this is a military company, they have military values, I trust them, come in my home. And they would say to me, well, thanks for doing the junk removal, but are you a handy person? Can you do some handiwork? I have some painting I need done. I only want to use you because I already went through the trouble of finding you that I trust. I don't want to have 7 different contractors. So I knew at some point I drew a thing for my wife on our back deck and I said, look at all these verticals we could do on top of JDog junk removal. We could have JDog carpet cleaning, painting, you know, pool cleaning, lawn care. You could go this way, like an Angie's List, but have the same JDog brand as your idea of getting that customer acquisition. So we thought about this for a long time. And then carpet cleaning just what happens to be, you know, a pretty simple model that's recession proof. It's been around forever, kind of the same expenses to be involved with as far as royalties and franchise fees. And if you have a JDog that's saturated, like you can't buy a JDog within 70 miles of Philadelphia because they're all sold. But you're a veteran and you want to be part of our brand. So now we need another vertical to add. So now we have 2 veterans in the same market, sharing customers, sharing personnel, and just with the same idea of giving good customer service. The difference is I'm cleaning floors, power washing, and vacuuming, whatever. And then the other one's hauling junk. And I think, in my opinion, that we'll be able to double the size of the company across the country. And existing franchises, we have, I think, at least 8 dual owners right now. Instead of going out that way with growth, they added on top of their existing junk. So now they go into someone's home and say, you know, thank you for using us for junk removal. By the way, here's a coupon for me to come back and do all your hardwood floors and clean up your carpet for you. And it's a no-brainer. Like, why would you call someone else to come in when you already had that relationship with a contractor?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How long were you guys thinking about that before you pulled the trigger?
Well, I drew it up. I think it was, and I don't have that little artifact. I wish I did, because I did draw it up on the back of a piece of paper with a circle, and I had JDog in the middle and I had all these businesses around it. I think that was probably in 2015 when I started realizing we were selling out in the Philadelphia area so fast. I was like, that sucks, because now people were applying for Philadelphia and in the suburbs, and we had to turn people down. I'm like, that's terrible. Like, we really wanted to get them an opportunity too, but once the territory sold, it's gone. So it was in the back of our mind for a while. I'm not sure how many verticals we're going to do. You know, if you ask my partners, they're going to say, let's get focused on these 2. Let's get it to, you know, 1,200 locations and do it the best we can. I have some ideas of what I want to do. Not sure yet, but I think when I hit a certain number of carpet cleaning, I think there'll be another possibility coming around the corner.
Okay. That's exciting. All right. You heard it here first, folks. What would you say is like the biggest lesson you learned from scaling JDog that you're already seeing faster success with carpet?
Well, you're walking in now to a whole system that just spent how many years building the brand, the website recognition. We have over 400 articles and videos and interviews from all the news agencies nationwide on JDog in the news on our website. That credibility is already there. So when someone opens up now a carpet cleaning business, they want to look up JDog, just go Google search JDog. You'll see tons and tons of information about a credible company. Whereas when we first started in 2012, 13, no one knew what JDog was. So it took a lot longer to explain to the customer who we were and what we were trying to do. Where now you could spend 15, 20 minutes on your computer and learn a ton about us, about what we do and what our mission and why it's so important to hire a veteran. So it really paved the way for a carpet or whatever that other service is going to be.
Great. Well, tell us a little about, what's next for you guys? Like what's on the horizon?
Well, we wrapped up season 1 of our television series, Operation Hidden Treasures. We were on the Discovery Channel last year, which was pretty cool. It was about our guys going around hauling junk and taking the junk and donating it to good needs and things like that. We would love to get a season 2 going. We have interest out there. It's just a matter of pulling it all together. So we want to continue to get that media going out there, and we do want to help our foundations partners, raise a lot more money and more awareness. And we just want to get every zip code in the United States represented by a JDog. There's 43,000 zip codes in the United States, and our idea is to have a veteran or an immediate family member own one of those zip codes so they can hire more veterans. That's the goal.
Okay, great. Well, we have a lot of good questions coming in, so I definitely want to get to some of these. So why don't we start? Isaiah had asked a few minutes ago, what kind of investment did the initial franchise cost you?
The initial, it was about, over time, I'd say about $60,000 to $80,000 to get all the legal documentation. And I had to negotiate a monthly payment plan because we'd only been in the business for a year. So I had to work some things out. But it's about $60,000 to $80,000 just to get your legal documents launched and get your proper FDD work done, and protected trademark, things like that. That's what it was for me. I'm not sure what it is today.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have one here. What type of support did you offer your franchisees for them to go for the franchise instead of starting their own junk removal business?
Well, again, it's about the brand, number one. Number two, it's about us researching, which software company to use for scheduling. How do you price things out? How do you do a market analysis? How do you acquire customers? How do you get to the top of Google? All these strategies, we've spent years and a lot of money going through what to do and what not to do. And, when you do that long enough, you come up with a system where instead of going out and investing in a radio ad or a billboard or buying the wrong truck, and trying to figure out your pricing, you could go out and be pricing things way out of whack. How do you get that customer? So it's all about those things collectively. And again, what the difference thing for us is, we're a military veteran brand. So we do have a different, unique perspective compared to all the other junk companies or even carpet companies. But that's really it. And if you, like I said, customers like to Google search your reviews. And if you go do that with us, you're going to see a nationwide full of a lot of positive reviews.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of touched on something with the market analysis. And I think this question kind of goes similarly in a little bit different of a direction, but how do you determine the price of the franchise, what to charge the franchisee, I suppose? I'm looking to franchise my company. We get a lot of people asking how we did it. We're growing fast. Now I'm thinking we need to franchise. Yeah. How'd you kind of do that analysis and determine where those, thresholds fell?
Well, yeah, I didn't reinvent the wheel. I looked at the top 4 junk removal franchise companies and I wanted to see where they're at. And I basically wanted to come in at half. I wanted to come in a lot less. And how can we make it affordable so, everyone wins? You don't need to be a pig and sit here and charge percentage royalties so you're getting paid on the call center, you're getting paid on every job, you're getting paid. We didn't do it that way. We're a flat royalty. So that's something different also with us. It scales up over 4 years and then it stops. So the more money you make, the more money you keep. And that's one of the reasons why we've been so successful, is because, some people are out there busting their ass because they know they're only going to pay us this. So all that extra income and all that different extra revenue, they get to keep for themselves to either expand their territories or invest in more trucks and things like that. So we've done it a little bit differently than everybody else.
Okay. All right, great. We have another question here. Sean asked, as the franchisor, how do you use Workies, or it can be even just a general, like, how do you determine what business management platform you wanted to use? And then do you require your franchisees to use it?
So, I have a team that has gone through multiple schedulers that have been out there. They've tried to use them. They receive feedback from the franchisees on how good these different programs and software have been. And somebody introduced Workies to us, one of our franchisees. We let the franchisees bring the systems to us because we want it to be successful for them. So no, we don't tie their hands and make them do any of these type of things. But we do bulk discounts for our franchisees if they're all using the same, solution here, or if they're using the same insurance company. And that's the advantage of franchising, where everyone collectively can participate in these things and get a better discount. Same thing with like our marketing strategies and some of our relationship with SEO, those type of things. If you have, 100+ owners all supporting and contributing, you can get the better rates as opposed to being a one-off.
Yeah, definitely. And then Joel had asked, could you tell us more about the 1 million fundraising that you got? Any strategies there that maybe people can take?
Well, when I raised that money, I basically sat across from a private equity owner and told him what the vision was, what we wanted to do. We wanted to put veterans to work, and we thought we had a recession-proof business to do it. And when you looked at those two angles, you got kind of a safety thing here with the business itself. It's not going away. And boy, no one was out there, franchising to veterans at the time that we could find. So we were really one of the pioneers on franchising to veterans, and I think they saw that as an advantage. So yeah, that's kind of how that happened. And to determine the money, they actually came up with a number of what they thought based on their experience, and they had a lot of experience in raising money.
All right, yeah, I'm sure that's a huge hurdle that I could see a business being in. Things are going well and thinking, well, how do I raise more capital to kind of take this next step? So it sounds like you really just, kind of leaned into what it is you guys do and being successful and having the confidence in proving that it was working, and just kind of took it to the powers that be, and they saw it as well.
Well, you need a competitive advantage, and you need the reason why someone's going to invest in you versus someone else. And our competitive advantage was we were going to be the military veteran brand that no one else was doing. And I think, I know that's the reason why they got involved.
Okay, great. Well, that's awesome. And I want to leave, a couple questions or a couple minutes in case people think of some last minute questions, but the people got to know, I just put another poll out. You're a Pennsylvania guy. I'm a Pennsylvania guy. Who's got the best Philly? Who's got the best cheesesteak?
From my perspective,
yeah,
I gotta go with our local here, Neo's.
The shout out to the local. I love it.
Yeah, Neapolitans.
All right.
Thanks for our guests. Yes.
Well, I'll send you the recording, and you make sure that you get that. They know. You got to be getting some freebies out of that one.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Well, in all seriousness, Jerry, I really appreciate you joining us today. I obviously we've worked together, gotten to know one another, and I knew a little bit about your business, and I knew that Workies was something that you guys do utilize and is a great fit for what you do. And it's pretty cool that the slide I had, a lot of the things that we've talked about there just kind of do fit in. But I thought this was a story that others would want to hear, especially if they are in that point where, they're thinking, you know what, I took the leap. I started my own business, and things are going really well. And maybe they want to be that next huge coast to coast in every, all 50 states, type of franchise, type of business. So kind of to end things here, what would you say is like the single biggest thing that you could give from a piece of advice standpoint to someone in that phase of their business? Things are going well, and maybe they're nervous about taking that next step and taking it bigger, scaling. What would you say to that owner?
I would say be passionate about what you do. Wear your brand every day. Wear the bracelets. This is my business card. Don't hand them a card. Hand them a bracelet and make them put the bracelet on their arm, and then they're going to market for you. It's a marketing play. So if you're a business owner, you got to live and breathe it. I mean, I see these people driving around with white vans and white trucks with no markings on them. You got to be kidding me. You're a billboard. You got to be the brand, and that's all I want to say. Once you figure out how to be a passionate brand owner, then I think you can take these steps into franchising to get other people to believe in your brand.
Okay, great. And okay, yeah, I think. Sorry, that saw another question come in, but I wasn't sure.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of hear everything. It's something that I've heard some cool stuff here today that I had no clue about. So I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well. If you guys are interested in learning more about us, anyone that's been on the actual webinar here, any new JDog customer, please contact us. We have a really aggressive promotion coming out that's going to run through March. Even if you're a JDog customer, you can get 2 free months just for joining us today. If you want to learn more about JDog, check out the website. And I can personally attest, I see on whether it's LinkedIn, all the socials, Jerry is posting stuff all the time. Dig deep, go down the rabbit hole. You've heard some really great things here today, but you could support your community, you could support a veteran. If you are a veteran, you're looking to start a business, you can do that too. So I just want to say thank you again. And Jerry, thank you for joining me. And everybody take care.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
All good? Can't hear you.
Yep, everything's good. And yes, that's a great question, Charlie. Yeah, we will have the recording of this. So if you're interested, reach out to us, and we'd be happy to share it with you. So, all right. Well, thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
I'll see you soon.
Thanks. See you, bud.
Bye.